The November 14th, 2024 regular meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Education comes to order. Let us stand for the pledge led by Christine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Lincoln County Vision Statement. The vision of the Lincoln County Schools is to empower every student with the knowledge and skills necessary to become college, career, and citizenship ready by providing high-quality education and enriching opportunities in every classroom, every day. Mission statement: every student, every classroom, every day, college, career, and citizenship ready.
Our quote of the evening is, "To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world." And that's by Dr. Seuss. Okay, we received a certificate from KSBA, Kentucky School Board Association, in recognition of Mr. Marvin Wilson. He had completed his level 1 of the Academy of Studies before his passing. And this is just a little excerpt from the letter we received. "We were saddened by Mr. Wilson's death and regret that we were not able to present him his certificate prior to his passing. And we have given the certificate to his wife. Please note on your agenda that items B and BA have been removed. Okay, A and A. Okay, let's repeat that. On your agenda, 8 and 8A. Okay, is there a motion to set the agenda?
Make a motion.
Christine?
Second.
Jen? Vote? Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Yes for me. Okay, any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Nehemiah Wilkinson.
Okay, come on up, Mr. Wilkinson, and Brent will go over some procedures, and I think Mr. Smith will keep time.
Each regular meeting shall include a public comment period of at least 15 minutes. Any board rules and policies regarding conduct during school board meetings shall apply during the public comment period. Persons wishing to address the board must first be recognized by the chair. The board is not involved with day-to-day matters involving individual students or employees, and concerns of this nature should be made at the school level or to the superintendent so they can be handled consistent with board policies while protecting individual rights. When you speak, please identify yourself. If you represent a group or organization, please provide the name of the organization. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. No yielding of time from one speaker to another is permitted. Please avoid comments directed at individuals by name or title. Employees and students have privacy rights relating to evaluations and discipline, and addressing those matters during public meeting violates those individual rights. Please speak to broad topics such as school programs, activities, facilities, budget issues, testing or academic issues, courses of action, alternatives, etc., which fall within the board's decision-making authority. Please show appropriate civility and decorum. The format is public comment. It is not an opportunity for questioning of board members or administrators or for back and forth discussion or debate. Board members and staff are present to listen and rarely will ask questions.
Good evening. I'm here tonight just to share a short story. Some 60 years ago, through 3 generations of my family, my father, we're telling a story about my father, myself, and then my niece. In 1964, my father integrated at the Houstonville Elementary School in the 4th grade. And when he went to that school, he faced different trials. And one instance, he was called a nigger. Fast forward to my experience in middle school. I'm in the hallway of Lincoln County Middle School in some 30 years later. And a boy wearing a shirt that said "The South shall rise again" looks at me in the hallway closest to the cafeteria and calls me a nigger. Fast forward 30 more years to 2024, just a few weeks ago, my niece has an encounter with an individual on a school bus that calls her a nigger. And so I wanted to bring this to you all, to the board, to let you know that this has been going on as a part of the culture in our school district for some 60 years. And the question that I wanted to pose to you all is 60 years long enough? There has to be real consequences to racism and harassment and bullying in our schools that will serve as an actual deterrent to keep kids safe and to ensure that they are a part of a learning environment where they are free to be themselves. And so I don't know what the board knows about these types of situations, but I wanted to give them an opportunity to try to create some sort of committees that are responsible for investigating those things and following up to keep kids safe. So,
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Wilkinson. And we'll continue with item 4, recognition and 2024 KSA data, presentations from Stafford Elementary, Waynesburg Elementary, Lincoln County Middle School, and Lincoln County High School. We will start with Stafford Elementary. Julia Duncan. Okay. Okay, I think we have another recognition.
No worries.
I'm not presenting another school, trust me. I've done enough presentations. This one. So in lieu of individual student recognitions tonight, we are going to recognize 2 schools for their performance on the KSA assessment last spring. The first school is the epitome of consistency. They've been a green rated school for multiple years. They also maintain a growth mindset. Where we are is never good enough. They always want to be better. And they are inching toward that blue rating. So Mr. Ledford, please come forward. Take that back, share with your staff. Very proud of you all. Thank you very much. The second school that I would like to recognize is a school that I spent a little time at, a couple of years, and this is a school that went through a lot of trials and tribulations. They were actually a CSI school probably 6-7 years ago, where they had the state come in and take over. They made great strides in the last couple of years, going from orange to now a blue rating, which is the highest rating you can achieve in the state of Kentucky. So Mr. Wheeler, would you come forward for Waynesburg? Congratulations. Very much. Proud of you all as well.
Okay, now Mrs. Julia Duncan will come up from Stafford Elementary.
Hey, those bedrooms are short. Try to get one of those, come to my house. Good evening. I am here to present the Stafford Elementary KSA data. Perfect. Our overall rating is not where we wanted it to be, and actually you're going to kind of hear that several times from me tonight. We are at a 44.5 for our overall score, which is a decrease from where we were last year. We've had some meetings with our district administrators who are working closely with us to support our students and our teachers so that we can get back to where we would like to be. And one of the things that was shared early on in our data discussions was your test scores really shouldn't be a surprise to you. So we knew last year that we were going to have some extra work to do. So we already had put some things in place before we ever even got these scores. So we'll go through the scores and then I'll talk to you about the things that we're doing to get us out of these scores. So go right ahead. I'm going to try to flip with you so I don't have to keep looking that way. You know that we receive data back in reading and math, in science, social studies, and combined writing, and our climate and culture survey. So every one of those also declined. Thankfully, the climate and school culture did not decline as much, but it is still a decrease. The change score hits us again. After we take a dip, then the change score hits us again. So it's not fun to look at these scores, but this is where we are right now. Go right ahead. So the next few slides we're going to look through are going to kind of be a repeat of what you saw last week when we were together with the other schools, except our data is going in a different direction. So with our reading and math, we dropped to a 47.7. Our science, social studies, and combined writing dropped significantly to a 37.8. Go right ahead. The gold star gives me hope. Okay, there's a little bit of hope right here. Our quality of school climate and safety status survey score does decline, but not nearly as much. So we're going to claim that as a somewhat holding steady, and our kids' perception of how things are at our school. The gold star again here definitely gives a little bit more hope. Our science scores in the last couple, 3 years have had the direction that we want to see them going. They're still not nearly as high as we'd like to see them, but we are seeing gains there. So we're always told when looking at data, look for the points of celebration and hold on to that. So we want to see those science scores hold, and we want to see the rest of our scores begin to trend in that upward direction as well. So our numbers of proficient and distinguished by subject dropped everywhere else, and it's where we are. So I'm reporting the facts. Go right ahead, sir. So the next few slides sort of show those same pieces, just in a different way to look at them. Here's our reading scores. You don't want to see as much red and yellow. You want to see way more green and blue. So that's what we're going to be heading towards. Go right ahead. Again, you all have looked at these graphs before. The blue shows your percentages of proficient and distinguished, while the red shows your percentages of novice, and this is looking at reading data. So you want to see those blue lines going up and the red lines going down, and ours are not going that direction. Again, your math scores, we want to see blue and green, but sadly we're sitting with a lot of red and yellow. Next, again, we had some things going in the right direction in the 21-22 test scores, and we crisscrossed again and headed back the way that we don't want to be. Science, even though this was a point of celebration and that we saw some increase in our scores, we still have a ton of kids sitting in apprentice. So we are looking at ways that we can move those apprentice kids up to proficient. The novice rating there is better than any of the others, so that's also a point of celebration, but you still want to see way less kids in novice, and obviously the apprentice, and move them up. Again, another way to look at that science data. So the nice thing about that blue graph is it goes up and keeps going up, and the red goes down. We like that. This is looking at our social studies scores with the novice and proficient. The 42 there in the novice is certainly not where we want to be. This again is the same data, just with a different way to look at it. You see them crisscross, which you're fine, buddy, which we don't love, but that's where we are. Combined writing, the graphs all look very, very similar. This breaks down each piece of the writing and gives us our percentage of proficient and distinguished in the on-demand, editing, and mechanics, and the combined writing section. So we do have some students that are making benchmark there, and we hope to add more to them this year. Another blue line going down and red line going up, not what we want to see. So I told you that we had talked previously about how the test scores, we knew that we were going to see some decrease because we were monitoring data as the year went on, and we were aware of what our students were doing, and we hoped for the best, but ended up with the results that I'm sharing with you tonight. So over the summer and at the end of the school year last year, there were already things that we were putting in place to try to remedy this and get us started with some forward motion. Our master schedule had some significant changes. We incorporated RTI and intervention blocks, with every grade level having, I think our youngest students in kindergarten have a 30-minute block, and everyone else has at least an hour. We had an issue with students that needed intervention and support services. It was really hard to find a time in the schedule that was appropriate to pull them to get the services that they needed, or to have folks push in to get their services. So we revamped our master schedule to build that block in, creating a much larger and easier opportunity to get the kids the support that they need. We implemented co-teach blocks in all grade levels that gave equal time for our LBD teachers. So those are our special education teachers, so they can get in and support students as needed. We've implemented the new reading and math series, as all of our other sister schools have done. We've adopted and focused on the 3 big rocks: data-driven instruction, meeting our special ed needs, and attending to the culture and climate of our building. 2 of the folks on our administrative team are participating in letters training. So that is a training that KDE is providing for, they call it letters, and that stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. Administrators participate in a 1-year course. I'm involved in that, and so is our instructional coach. And then for teachers, it's a 2-year process where they are really, really learning about the reading continuum, about reading instruction, about what to teach and when to teach it. And they're not learning a program. This is a 2-year series of professional development. So I was really excited to see that we have 4 teachers who jumped in. This is something they're doing for their own professional growth and development, and I'm super proud of them. Our staff is participating in the weekly special ed, not weekly, the monthly special ed meetings, just to make sure our special ed instruction is streamlined. Our assistant principal, the fabulous Ms. Foster, is attending a PBIS session that's throughout the whole year with CKEC to help us make sure that we are meeting student needs with our PBIS system. We were able to employ 2 counselors this year, and they are in classrooms and implementing a Tier 1 SEL curriculum. We're really excited about that, and we've seen some great gains in our behavior that I'll share in just a minute. And we were also selected as an autism training site with the Kentucky Autism Training Center. So that is a year-long training process to support our teachers so that we can better serve students with autism, because that's a population that we support, and we need more tools in our toolbox. So those were things that we were doing before we ever got these scores. And now after getting the scores, we're really digging in, and these are some of the things that we are doing moving forward. I'm sure you've heard this statement before, but the system that you currently have is perfectly designed to get the results you're currently getting. And we're not satisfied with the results that we're currently getting. So we are seeking out our district math consultant so we can refine our math practice. We just met this week with the Into Reading trainer so that we can refine our reading implementations. We're working with our district administrators to support our teachers to make sure that lesson plans are streamlined and the essential components are covered in each lesson. I am receiving support from CKEC, which is our co-op. I've got some folks that are meeting with me throughout the year. As a matter of fact, one of my consultants is coming tomorrow. She's already shared a lot of resources with me and giving me some pieces that we can use to really analyze our data to push our kids forward. Our admin team, particularly our counselors and Ms. Foster, our assistant principal, have worked on a student job system to give our kids a sense of purpose, and they have really taken hold. We had a young man who participates in our job program who was in the nurse's station at about 2:45, 2:50, just before school's let out, and he wasn't feeling well, and she was trying to take care of him, and she said, well, we'll go ahead and call your family. He said, no, I just need you to give me one of those little bags because I got to get to my job. I have to be at my job at 3:05, and I don't want to miss my job. So when they shared that with me, that lets me know that that's really making an impact. We're also implementing a buddy program. So we have 2 MSD classrooms in our building that serves moderate to severe needs students. And we wanted to find a way for them to have more social interaction. This was an idea of one of our teachers. So she is going to take some interviews with students and select kids who would be a great fit to come in and provide that. We are very focused on data tracking and goal setting with our iReady testing, because as you've heard before, the iReady is a good indicator of how students will perform at the end of the year on those KSA tests. So we are working with our teachers to try to support them to make sure that we're really monitoring where our kids are and looking for places we can make gains. We've sort of switched around the way that we are using our PBIS system. At the end of the week, our kids were participating in a Fun Friday activity, but they could get it if they received X amount of negative behavior marks or less. So if it was like 2 or less for the week, as long as you got that, then you could still go. So one of our staff members had an idea at the beginning of the year, what about letting them earn it? So instead of losing, what if they're earning? You have to earn X amount of points to earn this reward. So our teachers really latched onto that, and that's been really helpful to our kids. They're excited about earning their points so they can earn those fun activities. because of the PBIS work that Ms. Foster is doing through the program she's participating in, we're going to start piloting a program called Building Your Behavior with some of our classrooms to see how we can streamline this even more. Since the beginning of the year to this point in the year, compared to up to this point last year, we've seen a 68% decrease in our office managed behavior. So for those of you that don't live at the office, that might not be a big deal, but that's a big deal to us. Getting classroom behavior and student concerns in the behavior section of our lives under control allows Ms. Foster and I to be in classrooms and focus on instruction and focus on supporting teachers. And our kids are learning because they're not having behavior issues. So that's a big deal. We're super excited about that. We just got that this week. And I did the math like 4 times. They even reached out to someone else whose math skills I have even more faith in and said, am I doing this right? Is this really 68%? So that was, I promise I've checked it. We're really excited to share that. We, to continue to address our culture and climate for our staff, we have 4 different teams that the teachers participate in. One of those is a staff culture team, and our 2 counselors work very closely with that team, and they've developed monthly activities that are planned that we're going to do for the staff just to do fun stuff. We are throwing out challenges to our kids, and when they rise to those challenges, we're giving them fun dress-up days because that means something to our kids, and when you ask them, what do you want, that's what they want. So we have a pajama day tomorrow because they met their goal with numbers of acts of kindness from yesterday's World Kindness Day. So I think that's it. We hope to be on the rise and on the way up. I really like those banners. Keep those in mind. Maybe get Stanley on one of those. I have a little banner envy. So I hope next year to be receiving something like that for our kids because they deserve it. Any questions?
And we'll continue with Lansford Elementary, Mr. Tim Wheeler.
I always like seeing that tire because I worked really hard on that. A few of us did over the summer, so that's our new branded tire for Waynesbury Elementary. I'm very, very proud of that. I want to start off by saying we are obviously proud of Waynesburg, that we're a blue school. There are a variety of people that have been involved in that success. Teachers, all the staff. I go down to the bus drivers, to the custodians. It takes everybody working together to make a successful school. I want to give accolades to Chad Davis, Andrew Goldsmith. They were a part of this as well. That's their school as well. They came from there. Another big reason for why this is a big deal is because, like Chad said, we were a CSI school back in 2018, 2019. So to go from that to a blue school, it's a huge feat. So super proud of everybody's efforts. We know though, going forward, maintaining a blue status, it's going to take a lot of work. We can't just sit by idly and expect it to come again. It's going to take a lot of intentionality, and our teachers and staff are ready to make sure that happens. So we are at 87.3 is our indicator score, overall score. We are blue. Again, we're proud of that. Our status, 67.3 in reading and math combined. We had a change score of 11.7, which gives us an overall indicator of 79, which is great. For science, social studies, and on-demand writing, our combined writing, 74.9, a 24.1 change, which is huge. That's where our biggest change was, which brought us to a 99, which is blue. The quality of school climate and safety, 74.7, slight change there in the positive, so it went to 75. And this is just another breakdown of that. You can see the status score with that change score in the blue, and that's the same thing I just already said. Reading and math, again, going back to 22-23, 55.6, went to 67.3. You add that change, 79. And then here's where it's huge. 22-23 went from 50.8 to 74.9. So with that change score, a 99. And we'll break down some of those individual subject areas here in a second. It's exactly what you want to see. Reading, you see it growing over time. This is the percentage of proficient distinguished in reading, math. Science data was suppressed. We'll talk about that here in a second. So it's not reflected on this graph. Social studies, huge jump from 2021 up to where it is now for 23-24. And writing as well, huge jump. The quality of school climate and safety survey, slight increase, still very positive, but we're on the right track. We want to increase that even more. We have a bunch of ways that we're working on making sure that that happens, which we will get to in the next steps. Again, you want your green and your blue, your proficient distinguished to be higher than your red and yellow. Even though we're a blue school, that bothers me right there, because I don't think, I don't take the whole school approach, I take the individual student approach. That's 21%, that's still novice. We want to raise those up. We want to get those to proficiency as well. So we're not relaxed because we're a blue school by any means. Reading, I mean, this is what you want to see. This is the percentage of proficient distinguished on a line graph. So the red's going down, blue is going up. It's a good trajectory. This is math, proficient distinguished, obviously higher than your novice and apprentice, or those numbers are definitely up there. Okay, we want to push those forward. So math, line's going down for red, the proficient distinguished is going up. Again, another way to see it. This data was suppressed, the science data, due to the fact that KDE determined that if those numbers were shared with the public, certain students could potentially be identified, so they suppressed the data. But I can say that there were, this is huge for me because I was a science teacher, there were no novice students in science at Waynesburg Elementary, which is really exciting. And that is not an accurate representation because they just plugged in zeros, so it looks like that is not true. We did not decline like that. Zero. No, we're not. So. This social studies and writing is huge. So proficient, distinguished, that is massive for social studies. And you see that major upward trajectory for the blue proficient, distinguished percentage. Combined writing, again, positive. Still have some that are apprentice and novice, and as a school, your objective is always to move those up. You want that apprentice to move to proficiency, and you want to get rid of that novice. So we're working on it. We're going to put a lot of strategies in place to make sure that happens, and we already have to. Proficient distinguished of writing, that's where it breaks down. There's two different components of writing, on-demand writing and editing and mechanics. That's our proficient distinguished combined, so 63% combined. And then again, blue's going up, red's going down, exactly what you want to see. So the next steps, this was in place before we got our KSA data. I'm a big believer in themes, positive culture, and then having a driving force, an end goal, a North Star that you're always aiming towards. So I know the district has 3 rocks, but we created our own based on the district's 3 rocks, and these are ours that we're continuing throughout the year, probably even into next year as well. So we mentioned this at our PLC meetings, various meetings throughout the year. We talk about these, and we point everybody to them throughout the year. So number 1, personalized learning for all students with a focus on the word all, high engagement for all students, and then a positive, equitable culture for all. So the next steps I have broken down by those particular rocks. So for personalized learning for all students, just like everybody else, we have a new curriculum for math and reading that we're working through. It's different. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done to make sure everybody's doing it with fidelity, and we're working through that tremendously. Again, a huge thing for me is phenomenon-based instruction in science, because I'm a science guy. So we're working through that with the science teachers, making sure that it is truly phenomenon-based, and it's not cookie-cutter labs where we're just teaching content, but we're truly doing science the way it's supposed to be done. Same thing with social studies, follows that same practice of inquiry-based instruction where it's more than just learning dates and time. Effective lesson planning based on components of an ideal lesson. We're talking through that with teachers on a regular basis. What is an ideal lesson? How do you plan accordingly? And then how do you implement that plan? High quality co-teaching experiences for our special education population. That's always a priority because those special ed students struggle. So we've got to give them the interventions and the support that they need. And that often is through co-teaching, which is a huge initiative for the whole district, but it's specifically Waynesburg. Individual goal setting throughout the year with every student. We did that last year. Andrea and I worked really hard with this. We sat down with every kid in the entire building that was going to test, and we had that conversation, and we're continuing that this year too, where every kid not only hears from their teachers, but they hear from the administrators and the leaders in the building too, that you matter, your score matters, your success matters, and I think that has a huge impact on student success. Strategic interventions for students that are behind in math and reading through MTSS, our RTI structures, we're working on that, making it even better to where we're providing students that are not necessarily special ed the interventions that they need to be successful. Walkthroughs from me, from our instructional coach, that are actually meaningful, where they actually get something from that to increase their proficiency with their students. A focus on data literacy with teachers. That's a big thing for me too, is making sure that we look at data, but we understand what we're looking at and we know how to react to it. So that's our first rock. High engagement for all students, a focus on strategies that lead to active engagement instead of passive engagement. Use of training and resources related to research-based engagement practices such as Kagan, something we're going to bring in even more so in the next semester. Walkthrough and coaching system that offers feedback on engagement again. Peer observation, we've started that. We've had teachers going in other teachers' rooms. We haven't done a ton yet, but we're going to work more through that to where quality teaching is seen by other teachers in the building, so peer observation. Thinking maps, district initiative, we've been working through that as well. And then I'm a big believer that if your culture is not good, the academics suffer majorly. So this has been a huge project of all ours as well, is making sure that the culture is solid and making sure that students feel cared for, loved, and a part of something that's bigger than just going to school. So we have a name and claim mentoring program led by our school counselor, where teachers and staff members kind of own his student and they make sure that they're okay and they check on them. We've done a variety of additions to our PBIS structure, or positive behavior intervention and supports, throughout the school to reward positive behavior and focus on the positive, not the negative. We also, Andrea and I both have worked through creating houses. I know she's doing it at Highland, we're doing it at Waynesburg as well, where we have all students represented on one of these 5 houses. And again, I'm big on themes. Our theme is Be the Spark. So we named these houses Fireflies, Sparklers, Flames, Glow Sticks, Firecrackers. And we do a variety of competitions, academic competitions, just fun competitions, fundraisers, all kinds of things through those different houses, just to get kids excited about being at school. We have a Tiger show on YouTube Live that we show every morning to recognize students and just to make sure students are in the know about what's going on in the school. We recognize students all the time, constantly. We do principal fist bumps, which is like a positive officer referral. We have the Be the Spark awards that are presented here at the board meeting. We have attendance awards that go around. We have a Tiger that follows the student or the class that has the highest attendance for the month. We're recognizing honor roll competitions. We're all about having fun and learning at the same time. So I think that helps lead to positive success academically. So, any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, we'll continue with Lincoln County Middle School, Christopher Beal Surson.
So to ease my nerves for my first presentation in front of the board, I'll remind you it's my 18th day. But every single day, if you'll go back, actually, it'll help you remember what I want to say here, that each and every day that I've been at Lincoln County Middle School, I have been encouraged by our students and my positive interactions that I have had with our students at Lincoln County Middle School. Every day, them showing me how interested they are in learning, working hard, and performing at high levels. So similar to what Ms. Duncan said, our data from last year is not the greatest. It shows where we were, but not where we're going to be. Go ahead. So our overall score was 47.6, and in the orange down below it talks about the indicator raters, reading and math being at the green level, 53.4. Our science, social studies, and combined writing was where was the number that kind of really brought us down. Quality of school climate at 60.8. Showing the trends over the last 2 years, showing very slight increases in both reading and math, about steady science, social studies, and combined writing, with again a slight increase in quality school climate. Here we see our indicator reading for reading and math. Slight increase it shows, and then we know from our previous presentations that with that positive change, that also increases our indicator 53.4 for reading and math status at green. Science and social studies, similar data, just comparing over the last 2 years rather than the single year orange with an indicator of 40.5. Quality of school climate safety status, slight increase, indicator change for the 23-24 school year brought us up to a 60.8, which is green. So on this one, I wanted to just take a second to show again reading and math scores, something encouraging on this one, that we see that slight increased trend for both reading and math. Science and social studies and writing seems to be a bit chaotic, but the reading and math scores give me hope that over time, we're also going to get those science and social studies and combined writing scores settled down and moving into a positive direction. There's been a lot of turnover in staff in some of those other subject areas, and I think now we've got some good people in place that's going to allow for that to settle down and move in a positive direction. Reading scores, as we know, we definitely have too many novice and apprentice in our reading scores. We hope to flip that in years to go, and we'll talk about that in our next step slide at the end of the data presentation. Same data just over several years, our longitudinal data saying that it's been mostly flat, but we do have a slight increase in our proficient and distinguished in the last year, a slight decrease in novice. These are our subgroups in reading, showing how our free and reduced lunch students and our disability students, economic disadvantaged students are performing. We want to make improvements in all of those areas, and we have some plans to move that forward. Moving on to math, significant novice numbers that we need to make sure that we work on getting reduced. There's been a lot of work in curriculum in math for Lincoln County Middle School, and I can already see that through other data that I think we're going to make some progress there. Same thing over the last couple of years, showing slight increase in our proficient distinguished in math and slight decrease over time in our novice numbers. Proficient distinguished numbers here for our math group, and our decrease in novice over time, just showing it there with our bar graphs. Science numbers, so really significant numbers of novice and apprentice here. Science test is a really difficult one. Again, I think we've had some staff turnover, that I think we've got some people in place right now that we're going to make some significant improvements in that area. Science, again, just now over the last couple of years, last slight increase from 22-23 to 23-24. Again, another one here, this is our social studies scores from 23-24, huge number of novice in our social studies and apprentice. We've got some plans to make that in the right place. I think staffing will be a big part of that. Over the last 5 years, continuing that trend, combined, say again, that's okay. Combined writing, there are scores there showing 22% novice, 47% apprentice. This is our writing scores, combined writing broken down by our on-demand writing and editing mechanics, giving our combined writing score of 31. I'm not sure what happened here for the 22-23 school year. But so from 21-22 to our 23-24 score, we see a slight increase in proficient distinguished, very slight decrease, but pretty steady trends over time for our writing scores. So the important things with this one is what our next steps are. Before I got on board, I want to give a lot of credit to Ms. Hart and Mr. Davis for working on our Tier 2 intervention strategies at the middle school and getting a process in place for us to be able to provide some interventions for our students in both reading and math. That program has gotten up and running pretty much as of my first day on the job, and we're continuing to monitor that and make sure that that system is going to be effective for our students who are struggling in reading and math. That should help significantly with our reading and math scores, and also their ability to access the science and social studies test. Another thing there is we're big right now on coaching content congruency. So we want to make sure that our Tier 1 instruction is really focused on making sure that our daily activities are up to the level of the Kentucky academic standards, and that we're not just having fun activities. We want to make sure that everything is rigorous every single day for our students. We're going to work on our procedures, and we just had, you reminded me of two things that I should have put on this slide. So I also have a CKEC coach that I met with last week, and we'll be continuing to help us look at our practices and procedures. We had a Kentucky Center for School Safety audit a week ago. That is going to be a big help in us in figuring out our processes and procedures that we need to have in place for all of our students to feel safe. Also to work on our culture and climate for our schools so that students feel comfortable at school. And the last point that I put there is just that we've got to work on believing it. Our students are very, very capable at Lincoln County Middle School, and we need our students to know it and our teachers to believe it. And we're going to work on that culture piece every single day. I hope you don't mind my less branded, less official graphic there. Mountain climber from that game show, because we're just going to take it one step at a time. And little piece by little piece, we're going to make improvements, and we're going to climb that mountain.
I heard the music as soon as you put him up.
You heard that?
And I like the I believe it at the bottom. You take the I believe it.
We're going to inspire some of that belief, because absolutely the students inspire me every day, and we're going to make those steps. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Lincoln County High School, Mr. Chase
All right, well, good evening. We'll get going here with our data. We'll take a look. We're a yellow school at Lincoln County High School this year. And whenever you start to break down and you look at the different areas that we're tested in, the high school's tested a little differently than what you've heard with elementaries. Our sophomores take the reading and math exam, that's English 2 and geometry. Our juniors do our science, social studies, and combined writing tests. And then, of course, we've got the quality of school climate survey, graduation rate, and then post-secondary readiness, which is a different factor that goes into our accountability. We'll talk about in just a minute. So whenever we start looking here, reading and math, you see up top there, we saw a pretty good jump there. Our indicator score is 69.3. We jumped from 59.7 the previous year. So we're really happy about that. Our combined science, social studies, and science scores, we're not happy with what that is. We'll look a little at some kinks there in a minute, but we're not satisfied with that, so we're working to make some improvements there. We're excited about our quality of school climate survey. Our students are feeling happier to be there, safe to be there, so that's always a positive. And graduation rate is on up there, and I think our graduation rate, whenever I compared it to a lot of the area schools, was up there pretty high compared to some of our area schools, so we're excited about that. And then post-secondary readiness did take a bit of a dip, and we're not okay with that, because this one really hits home with me, because at the end of the day, you know, our mission statement at the high school is that we're going to prepare students to be ready, college, career, community ready. And that is the way that KDE looks at high schools and says, are you preparing your students to go out and be ready to go to college or go to the workforce? And so that number that number right there is not okay whenever that's our mission. And then we know that's how the state's looking at us, and we know that's one indicator to prepare our students. So we're working real hard with that. So reading and math, as you can see kind of on that last slide there, we did see a jump there, and we're really, really excited about that. We have a very solid group of teachers there in the English department, and they're working really hard to improve those scores. Science, social studies, and combined writing, you can see the stair step down there. We did take a pretty big hit. We'll look at the individual ones in just a second there. Quality of school climate survey, you know, that did go up, and we're excited about that. Something that we're really pushing is the last few years, we've kind of done a random survey of 100 students, and the admin team pull all these students out, and we interview them, and we try to find ways, how can we improve what we're doing here to make sure that all students feel safe. And Mr. Wilson, to your point there, we're trying to make sure that we're taking care of issues. And so that's one way that we do that at the high school, is to try to see what's going on, because the students are out there, the adults may not know what's going on. So we try to do that, and we try to take those results and see how we can improve in that area. So hopefully that number will continue to climb. Post-secondary readiness with high demand. Again, you can see it went down a little bit. We'll talk about what we're doing to improve that moving forward in just a moment. This is just another graphic about post-secondary readiness with high demand that looks at all of our subgroups. And so it breaks it down from economically disadvantaged to male students, students with IEPs, and so forth. But again, these numbers are not where we want them to be, and we're putting a lot of measures in place to make sure that we're improving that. Graduation rate, like I talked about a minute ago, you can see it's climbed up a little bit, and we are proud of that, because you know, our students here in Lincoln County, they come from a wide variety of different homes, and they have a lot of challenges that they face. And so, you know, sometimes coming to school is the last thing on their mind, but they come in, we work really hard to make sure they get what they need and be prepared to go out to the world. And so the fact that we're getting these students to stick with us and be able to graduate, it's a big accomplishment. So we're proud of that number. All right, and then this is where they kind of combine a 4-year and 5-year average of students who are in school 4 years and 5 years. It's just shows you the percentages there of those subgroups and how they're performing in terms of graduating on time. All right, and then here's the one that we've seen on all of the other presentations here. You can see we want the red and yellow to be smaller. We are excited that our novice percentage is a little bit lower there with reading. That was a good improvement from the previous year. And so we've got some stuff in place this year that we think is going to really help drop that yellow bar and pump up that green bar. So we'll talk about those in just a minute. And then whenever we start looking at our novice reduction here, you can see in reading, the blue line's going up. That's a great trajectory with the red going down. So we hope that we can maintain that moving through this school year. All right, when we move to math, we have a lot of work to do here. Math is obviously an area of struggle based on what you're seeing here. And we've, again, put some measures in place that we think are going to improve. But at the end of the day, this is a big improvement from the previous year. So our math department's worked really hard to make those gains. So we're proud of them. And hopefully next year, we're going to see that red drop and yellow drop quite a bit. And then again, that's the same math there. You can see we've got a positive trajectory from the previous year to this year. We're hoping that we continue that and that gap widens between blue and red for next year. All right, so we get to this. This is our junior level, or this year our seniors. This year seniors took the social studies exam last year. Again, you can see the stair step. We're not happy with that. Again, we're doing a lot of work that we'll talk about in a minute to try to turn that around. So we'll fix those numbers. Like Mr. Wheeler said, I think our science scores were suppressed because students could have been identified. But I did want to make one note about the science, social studies, and combined writing. We did see a big hit in that, but one thing that is, I think, important to point out is our science took a really big hit, and it wasn't good. And of course, it's not on here because it's suppressed data. But statewide, there is a massive issue with the high school science exam. There was 6% of students in Kentucky high schools that performed at a proficient level on KSA science and 0% distinguished in the whole state.
Which
So
tells us the issues of the exam.
there's something wrong there with that, because you've got students who are taking the ACT and they're getting 35s, 36s. Those kids are distinguished in science, but apparently not on KSA. So I just wanted to point that out, that does make that data a little bit skewed, I think, when you look at our junior level testers, and that's not seen here, but I did want to point that out because that's kind of a wild stat, I thought. Writing, we've got a couple of phenomenal writing teachers that teach this particular grade level, but our English department as a whole does a wonderful job in embedding writing every day. And, you can see the hard work that anytime you got 11% a novice on anything, that is something to celebrate, regardless of what's going on. So they're doing a great job, and we know that's going to continue to improve for next year as well. And you can see the trajectory. I mean, that's not great because blue's going down, but there's still a good gap there from the previous year, which is good considering what science and social studies kind of look like. All right, so our big rocks, we had developed these again, like the other folks had said at the start of the year. I got to work with Ms. Robbins and Mr. Willoughby to develop big rocks. And what can we focus on this year at the high school? The first thing is culture and climate. Second was instructional knowledge building. And then lastly, accountability awareness, which is what we're talking about, all this data awareness about this accountability. So we'll look at what we're doing individually for those. I don't have a whole lot listed here because the high school is a massive place and there's just so many things. So I try to condense it down, but there's a whole lot more that's going into each of these. One thing that we're doing is we are continually just trying to celebrate the small wins, the big wins, every win that we've got with students and staff, because you get beat down whenever you go through life and you never hear a win. So that's something that we are really trying to do. We're trying to just make learning fun, make learning cool again, and so that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to point out whenever kids are doing the right thing. We've gotten back to, it sounds silly, but we've gotten away from honoring our honor roll students at the high school. So we've done that, and you would have thought it was like we gave them an ice cream sundae, and they just thought it was the greatest thing. So, they're really excited about that. We've been trying to just recognize good behavior and, hey, do the right thing. And so Ms. Robbins coordinated, she looked over some behavior data and was able to send out rewards and little Wendy's coupons, I think, to students for good behavior and no cell phone violations. And we had students who were seniors coming up to us, and they're like, I got one of these envelopes that says I have good behavior. I would have never gotten that when I was a freshman. So they're growing, they're maturing, they're about to go into the real world. So, but they're so excited about it. And so we're just trying to say, hey, thank you to those students that are doing the right thing, and it's making a big difference there. And then a constant focus on academic discourse. We're really trying to push just discussion around academics, and that Learning School, it's a good thing. Every agenda that we prepare, whether it's a faculty meeting, a planning period meeting, an admin team meeting, there is a solid focus on academics. I think our counselors are in the midst of coordinating a minute meeting with every student. So there's 900 students at the high school. That's a big undertaking, but they're going to be meeting with them, checking in on them to make sure they're okay, and then make sure they're on the right path with academics there. So we're really just trying to continually have those conversations with students. All right, instructional knowledge building. This one is a huge one for us. With kind of the turnover that we've had at the high school the last several years, we've been fortunate. We're 100% staffed at this moment, so we're really excited about that. And something that's challenging though is that there's not a lot of applicants, but you get a lot of folks that are going with an alternative certification route. They didn't traditionally go the traditional teacher route. So something we've done is focus on back to the basics. So we're just going and getting the whole staff on the same page. We're trying to look and make sure our PD this year was focused on components of an ideal lesson, what makes a good lesson, and that they're probably sick of hearing me say it, but that's what we're focusing on. Guided planning sessions. Our instructional coaches are doing a phenomenal job. They're meeting individually with sub-content areas like, World Civ or U.S. history or whatever it may be, and they're making sure that our teachers are implementing the PD from this year, and they're doing a great job of jumping in there and showing teachers how to make their content fit into the components of an ideal lesson so that we have solid lessons all across the board in every classroom. We are working, Mr. Willoughby's revamping our data PLC. He's working on getting some data talk amongst the teachers, looking at common assessment data and seeing, and then of course that pours over into our guided planning sessions when our coaches are working with the teachers to say, all right, here's your data. How can we plan a lesson to shore up these gaps that maybe are present? Coaching cycles, again, this goes back to our coaches. They're working their butts off and they're doing a great job. We're seeing massive payoff on coaching cycles. They're working individually every day they've got a caseload of teachers, and we're trying to build a culture of coaching is great. I shared with them that I'm working with a CKC coach as well. Like you all mentioned, like I need to be coached as well. So we're just trying to pour into teachers like coaching is a great thing. Let's all take it. So we're hopeful that all 60 plus teachers will have a coaching cycle by the end of the year. And then co-teaching refinement, we've worked to finagle our master schedule so that we're able to get 2 content specialists and a special ed teacher, or 2 content specialists in a lot of our classes where students are getting to work on a more it's not one-to-one, but it's closer. It's a better ratio when you got 2 teachers in there working. So 2 content specialists is better than 1 whenever you can do that. So our counselors worked hard to work on the schedule to make that happen. And then accountability awareness, Ms. Robbins back there is knocking it out of the park with this. She is planning Patriot Time. Patriot Time is like our homeroom advisory. And what we do is she is planning lessons to teach the students about what post-secondary readiness means. What's it look like for me to be able to go into the real world and be ready based on what I've done at Lincoln County High School. And so she has made sure that staff have all they need to know what that looks like. And she's making sure that students know as well. And then we're tracking every student. I think our senior class, we've looked at every student, and any student that's not post-secondary ready at this time, we've got a plan A, B, and C of how they can get there before they graduate. So I think next we're moving to juniors, and we're moving right on down to the freshmen. So we're really trying to focus on that and make sure they're prepared. But I've just got a great team, and they're really good. So I think we're gonna see a lot of gains, and that's because of the work that everybody at the high school is doing. So, we've got a great team and they make it happen, so.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to make a comment. I am so impressed with their principals last week and this week. You know, they are the leader of the school. It starts with them and it works on down. I was so happy to see culture mentioned in every presentation and also about learning and fun. You know, you can learn while having fun, and I'm so glad our teachers are recognizing that. Thank you all so much. Okay, we'll continue with item 5, superintendent and staff reports. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, we'll go down to the consent agenda. Questions, comments there? Anyone? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Okay, Tyler,
Second.
Christine, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and yes for me. Okay, we'll continue over to item 7, action items. And Leanne Smith is coming, 7A, KETS offer of assistance.
Yeah, as I discussed, last week, we have a CATS offer of assistance in the amount of $32,771. I just need the board to approve accepting that and escrowing that for 3 years, and that will be used toward technology needs.
And this is something we get
Mhm.
periodically over the.
We get 3 offers every year typically.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the KETS offer of assistance in the amount of $32,771? Jen,
The second.
okay, Christine, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, Leanne will continue with 7B, revised policy 04.32, model procurement purchasing.
So this will be the second reading of a change to our policy. And as I discussed last week, these are just some redundant wording clauses that exist. One was the emergency clause. We're knocking that whole thing out. And then the other that said projects that are in excess of 40,000, but then it says, but not more than 40,000. So we're just striking that out of there, just a little cleanup.
Okay, need a motion to approve the second reading and approval of board policy 04.32, model procurement code purchasing.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Tyler,
Second.
okay, Christine, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, Leanne will continue with 7C, revised procedure 04.32 AP.1, procurement.
So this will just be the only reading we require to change the procedure. And if you'll see the strike through there, it says if available, quotes from 3 suppliers shall be secured if for purchases exceeding $1,000. And actually that doesn't match what our policy states. So it's just some incongruence there. So we're just striking that out of there, but no other changes to the procedure.
Okay, need a motion to read and approve revised procedure 04.32 AP.1, procurement. And Jen,
Second.
Christine, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you, Leanne.
Thanks.
We'll go down to 7D, revised policy 09.2, student welfare and wellness. Jeff Krager.
Okay, this is a small change. This is the second reading, and the change is
we're requesting that the change of the language that says suggested language may include goals related to activities and opportunities. Now read, the district as a whole may include goals related to activities and opportunities. So it's just that language be changed.
Okay, is there a motion to approve second reading and approval of board policy 09.2, student welfare and wellness? Okay, Tyler?
Second.
Okay, Christine? So Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Are you doing the next one, Jeff? No, Brad's doing it. Okay. Brad Smith, 7E, bids for vehicles declared as surplus.
Yeah, last month we asked you all to surplus 7 items, 6 vehicles and a salt spreader. Since then, we have followed our standard procedures and accepted bids based on placing that in the local newspaper with the highest circulation, which would be the Interior Journal for us. Of the 7 items, we received bids on 6 of those, and 4 of those 6 we received multiple bids. We're satisfied with the process as is. We're just asking to award the bids. And one caveat to that is we would like to relist the salt spreader, but since it did not get any bids.
Are these ever listed on the radio, Brad? I know you said newspaper.
We didn't, this time 95% of the time, we just put them in the Interior Journal. We did last year, Jeff and I actually did try to put some buses on Facebook one time. We didn't really seem to get any more traction. That maybe wouldn't be a bad idea. I could maybe prank call the general store. And try to slip them in there.
We'll get a lot of bids.
The main objective to this project for Jeff and I was we're trying to clean up, and a lot of these vehicles are just sitting around, have not operated in a while. A handful of times over the years. And in terms of the salt spreader, we don't intend to use it because at least for this next year, we're going to try to use outside resources to do that as needed basis, see how that goes. The vehicle we were using to clean the snow removal with was not adequate for the job. And instead of going out and spending $40,000 or $50,000 on it for a good, a truck capable of doing that, we're going to try to outsource that. But our main objective, as it has been the last few months, especially out on that campus, just trying to clean things up. That's really the main goal of this.
And I agree with that completely. I mean, we have things we're not using. We need to move them on.
I know the middle school will miss seeing that real big box truck sitting behind it all the time ago.
Can we try one more time and rebid some of this? I mean, $175 for a 2006 Ford Freestar van.
It's not much, but I think we
Maybe
need to move on.
I'll entertain whatever the board decides to do. We'll obviously do.
What is the condition of
Did they have to tow it to the spot it's in? I don't know that it's running.
Yeah, does it run or is it, not just not used?
Well, I wouldn't drive it. There might be
subpar,
somebody
right?
that'll drive it, but I know I wouldn't get it. No, that's
We're-
the case, most of them. Yeah.
We're definitely trying to focus attention on our fleet. Most of the vehicles are very high mileage and not doing well. So Jeff and I too are working on that as part of this plan. That is a low one there. The van, that was the only one that was super low. I mean,
But it was the high bid, so.
it was.
Okay, I need a motion to award bids as listed for surplus vehicles.
I'll make a motion.
Christine,
I'll second.
okay, Tyler, Bo, Gloria,
No.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And we will go ahead and relist that salt spreader. And to try to get more traction with it, I will put it on social media too. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, 7F, amended guidelines from Lincoln County Early Childhood, Kim Carrier.
We're just seeking approval for updated program guidelines for eligibilities 1 through 7. which reflect the amended Head Start performance standards. Did you all have any questions after you looked at them last week?
Much overdue.
Yeah.
A head start.
Yeah.
Federal government.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the updated program guidelines.
Make a motion.
Christine. Okay, Jen. Vote, Gloria.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
And yes for me. Okay, Kim, we'll keep you up here for 7G, Early Childhood Program Self-Assessment Process.
So we're just seeking approval for our annual self-assessment. It's their process that we have to get approved by both policy council and board. So if you all have any questions from where I presented it last week.
And again, this will be based on the new regulations under Head
Yes.
Start.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the Lincoln County Early Childhood Self-Assessment Process?
I'll second.
Jen and Christine second. Vote, Gloria.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
And yes for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. 7H, MOA with Commonwealth of Kentucky, Julie Ball.
This is to work with the Community Work Transition Program, which helps students with disabilities gain skills and obtain resources to be career ready through services by an employment specialist. So we're just looking for approval to enter into that MOA with them.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with the Commonwealth of Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation?
I'll make a motion.
Tyler, Christine,
Yeah.
okay, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
And yes for me. And we'll continue down with 7I, classified position for work transition program. Julie.
So this would just be for a classified position we'd like to create along with the pay scale or the salary schedule. And it would be for that position of the specialist to work with the students.
Questions? Okay, is there a motion to create an employment training specialist position, approve the job description, and add it to the salary schedule?
I'll second.
Jen, Tyler. So Gloria?
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And Julie, will keep you up here. 7J, shortened school day week for special education students.
I've got 5 students who have completed the medical statement and changed on their IEP that have medically necessary short school days a week that we're seeking improvement for.
Okay, I need a motion to approve a shortened school day week for the 2024-2025 school year for 5 special education students.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Christine, okay, Jen, vote, Gloria,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and yes for me. Is there anything else before we move on? Oh, okay. Christine asked about a policy last week at our working meeting, and so Frank's going to respond to that.
She had asked me to review board policy 10.5 and the corresponding administrative procedure just about visits to schools. And part of that question was just, in what way does that, who all does that apply to, or how does that apply to board members? Other than the little bit of special information that board members get on, like they get a little bit more detail on these students with shortened school day. They get a little bit more detail on the employees than the general public does on, employee requests for leave. But for the most part, the board doesn't have any greater access to information or to facilities than any other member of the public. They do a whole lot of extra work, but they don't get a whole lot of extra perks. And that includes being visitors to buildings and having access to a whole lot more information. So the visitor policy does apply to board members. as it does to any other member of the public. And the primary notion of that is just visits to the school ought to be scheduled in advance with the principal or the principal's designee to make sure that whatever day or time that the board member or other member of the public is wanting to visit something or observe something, it's not going to be disruptive to a program. It's going to fit into the principal's schedule instead of taking them away from, for example, if the principal ought to be doing walkthroughs and observations, then the board member ought not be scheduling a time where the principal needs to hold their hand through the building. So it ought to be scheduled in advance. The AP also talks about if there's a request to visit a particular classroom to observe something in particular, that teacher would also be notified in advance of the visit. And then the frequency of visits shouldn't interfere with scheduled instructional programs. I know a lot of districts, if board members want to observe something in particular because there's going to be a new program that we're buying, or there's going to be some new project, some construction matter, frequently a superintendent will coordinate that with, or a facilities director, whoever would coordinate that to facilitate board members going to buildings so that the principal's time isn't taken out of their duties. So somebody from central office can do that with board members or other visitors. But it is supposed to be coordinated in advance, and there's not a whole lot of extra access that board members are entitled to beyond the general public. For anybody that wants to or cares about that, if I visit school buildings, I sign in and hand over my ID, and I'm there for a purpose. I'm there by invitation. I don't just walk in and say what I want to do when I'm at the school. I'm subject to that same policy as well. Board members are subject to that policy. So does that answer all your questions?
Thank you. Any question?
I have a comment very quickly. I want to thank you, Nehemiah, for coming and sharing this story with us. I want to thank you for reminding us that even in 2024, we have students that are facing the effects of racism. I want to thank Mr. Padgett for mentioning that in his presentation. And I want to thank you and your sister for handling this appropriately, reaching out to Mr. Sursick to have a conversation to let him know and not attacking him, because we all in the school system know how poorly sometimes these things are handled. So we appreciate that you came to us and treated us with respect. And I thank you just for being here, because I've been doing this since June and no one has come for public comment since then. So I appreciate the fact that someone showed up to talk to us about what's going on. And if anyone's listening, we encourage that. So just thank you very much for being here and sharing this experience so that we know if we need to look at things and change things to make sure that every student feels included in our community.
Yes, thank you. And I'll follow up. You mentioned maybe a committee. Yes. And I think that's excellent. Exactly what we need. I want to thank Mr. Sursick also, because I know he's been working on this issue. Thank you so much. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Christine? Jan? Nobody wants to go home? Okay. Vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Christine? Yes. And yes for me.